In the picturesque town of Newport, Rhode Island, where the salty ocean breeze carries whispers of the past and the waves crash against the rocky shore with a rhythmic, soothing cadence, a young woman named Elara grew up with dreams as vast as the ocean horizon. Born into modest means, her family lived in a quaint, weathered house that stood in stark contrast to the grand mansions lining the coast. While the town thrived with tourists and wealthy visitors, Elara felt an anchor in her roots, knowing that her high school friends were destined for prestigious universities while she was bound to help her family survive. Elara took on a job at a local grocery store, donning an apron and a smile to mask her apprehensions. Each day brought a monotony that felt inescapable, yet she found solace in the simple routines and the beauty of the nearby beaches. The disparity between her life and those of others gnawed at her spirit, but it was the love that blossomed unexpectedly during the summer of 2019 that offered her a glimmer of hope amid her mundane existence. She met Arjun, a kind-hearted soul whose warm smile and gentle demeanor drew her in instantly. He was a quiet man who worked at a local automotive shop, and their shared moments on sandy shores held the promise of a life she yearned for. Their relationship unfolded slowly, with each date weaving a tapestry of dreams and aspirations. They married shortly after their whirlwind romance, pledging to navigate life together, hand in hand, against the backdrop of the tumultuous ocean they both adored. Their wedding was a small, intimate affair, filled with laughter and the warmth of close friends and family. Elara felt a sense of belonging she had never experienced before, her heart swelling with the promise of a future filled with love and companionship. Arjun's family, who had traveled from Malaysia, welcomed her with open arms, their traditions and customs a fascinating blend of the familiar and the foreign. As the festivities wound down and the couple settled into their new life, Elara felt a flicker of unease. The expectations of her in-laws, particularly her mother-in-law, Lynn, began to weigh on her. Lynn, a vibrant woman with a penchant for tradition, often spoke of the importance of family and the joy of parenthood. Elara, while eager to start a family, felt the pressure mounting, a silent tension building beneath the surface. As time passed, the weight of expectations crept into their lives like an unwelcome guest. Elara found herself adrift in a sea of familial responsibility, navigating not just her own wants but those of her in-laws, who arrived from Malaysia, bringing with them traditions and beliefs that felt foreign and suffocating. Her mother-in-law, Lynn, a vibrant woman balancing modernity and tradition, often pressured Elara to produce an heir. Lynn's gentle nudging and well-meaning advice were a constant presence in Elara's life. She spoke of the joys of motherhood, the importance of carrying on the family lineage, and the fulfillment that came with raising children. While Elara appreciated her mother-in-law's perspective, she couldn't shake the feeling of being trapped, her own desires overshadowed by the weight of familial duty. Meanwhile, her father-in-law, Kiran, an imposing figure with a quiet authority, both intimidated and intrigued her. He was a man of few words, his presence commanding respect and attention. Elara often found herself seeking his approval, wanting to prove herself worthy of being part of their family. But his expectations, though unspoken, were palpable, adding another layer of pressure to her already burdened heart. Elara's heart fluttered with mixed emotions as she settled into the rhythm of married life. Despite the comforts of their small apartment, the air often felt thick and heavy with unfulfilled promises. Each day without a child took its toll, slowly eroding the joy that once brightened their home. The weight of familial expectation mixed with her silent struggles with Arjun brought an unsettling tension to their life together. The disparity between her dreams and the reality of her life became increasingly apparent. She longed for the freedom to pursue her own ambitions, yet the chains of tradition and duty held her back. The disparity between her aspirations and the life she was living grew into a chasm that seemed impossible to bridge. She often found herself daydreaming about the life she could have had, a life free from the constraints of expectation and obligation. Days turned into weeks while the shadows of despair deepened beneath the sunlight-drenched surfaces of their lives. Elara busied herself with chores and the superficial appearances of domesticity while her mind spiraled with unvoiced fears. She felt the creeping vines of anxiety tighten around her heart, each day blending into the next, with no resolution in sight. The distance between her and Arjun grew like an unbridgeable gulf, pushed further by the unresolved pressures churning in their hearts. They spoke less and less, their conversations reduced to mundane exchanges about household chores and daily errands. Elara longed for the connection they once shared, the easy banter and shared dreams that had drawn them together. On a particularly haunting evening, amid family noises and laughter, an unforeseen confrontation struck like lightning, sharp and unceremonious. With each tick of the clock, her intuition whispered that something dominated the air, a storm brewing beneath predictably mundane moments. That night, Elara was left alone in the kitchen, reflecting upon the rift in her marriage, an ache echoing in her chest as memories flooded back of their courtship, the joy, the warmth, the smiles. As she stirred a pot, lost in thought, Kiran entered the kitchen unexpectedly. His presence commanded every inch of space, the warmth from the stove contrasting sharply with the chill that crept into the room. Their eyes met for the first time in a way that sent shivers down her spine, an electrifying recognition of the weight not just of the moment but of the space between them. Kiran's gaze held a magnetic intensity, drawing Elara into a vortex of emotions she couldn't quite decipher. She felt a strange mix of fear and fascination, a dance on the edge of a precipice she wasn't prepared to confront. His presence was both intimidating and alluring, a paradox that left her feeling unsettled and confused. Their encounter in the kitchen was a turning point, a moment where the tension between them shifted from subtle to palpable. Kiran's gaze held a magnetic intensity, drawing Elara into a vortex of emotions she couldn't quite decipher. She felt a strange mix of fear and fascination, a dance on the edge of a precipice she wasn't prepared to confront. As the weeks passed, Kiran's behavior grew more intrusive, his presence a constant reminder of the power imbalance that defined their relationship. He would find ways to be alone with her, cornering her in the hallway or the living room, his proximity a looming threat. Each encounter left her feeling violated, her sense of safety eroding with each passing day. Elara tried to confide in Arjun, but the words caught in her throat. How could she tell him that his father, the man he revered, was the source of her fear? She felt trapped, caught between her loyalty to her husband and her growing terror. The weight of the secret pressed down on her, a burden that grew heavier with each passing day. Kiran's actions became more overt, his advances more blatant. He would brush against her in the hallway, his touch lingering a moment too long. He would make inappropriate comments, his words veiled in a guise of concern and affection. Elara felt like a pawn in a game she didn't understand, her heart racing with a mix of fear and confusion. The tension in the house was palpable, a storm brewing beneath the surface of their seemingly ordinary lives. Elara felt the pressure mounting, the weight of the secret threatening to crush her. She longed for a way out, a solution that would free her from the suffocating grip of her father-in-law's advances. One evening, as Elara was preparing dinner, Kiran appeared in the kitchen, his figure silhouetted against the light from the hall. Her heart leapt into her throat as he stepped closer, his voice a low murmur. "You look troubled," he said, his words sending a chill down her spine. She tried to step away, but he closed the distance between them, his hand brushing against her arm. Elara's mind raced, her instincts screaming at her to flee. But before she could react, Kiran closed the door, sealing them in a suffocating silence. "We need to talk," he said, his voice a low growl. She backed away, her heart pounding in her chest, but he advanced, his eyes burning with a dark intensity. The intimacy that followed was a violation, a grotesque perversion of the connection she thought they had. His hands moved over her, leaving a trail of disgust and horror in their wake. Each touch was a violation, a theft of her autonomy and dignity. She was a prisoner in her own body, forced to endure the nightmare unfolding before her. In the aftermath, Elara lay there, shattered and numb, the room spinning around her as she tried to make sense of what had happened. Kiran stood up, adjusting his clothes as if nothing had happened, and left the room, leaving her alone with the horror of what had just transpired. She felt a deep sense of violation and betrayal, a wound that cut to the core of her being. Her world had been torn apart, and she didn't know how to pick up the pieces. She wanted to scream, to cry, but she was paralyzed by a numbness that spread through her body like a poison. The next morning, Elara awoke with a start, her heart pounding in her chest. The events of the night before felt like a distant nightmare, but the ache in her body was a stark reminder of the reality she faced. She dragged herself out of bed, her mind racing with thoughts of what to do next. She considered telling Arjun, but the thought of shattering his world filled her with dread. She felt torn, caught between the need to protect herself and the desire to spare him pain. She spent the day in a daze, her thoughts consumed by the dilemma she faced. That evening, as she sat alone in her room, she realized that she couldn't keep silent. The weight of the secret was suffocating, and she knew that she needed to find a way to confront the situation. She confided in a close friend, who urged her to seek help. With her friend's support, Elara found the courage to report the incident to the authorities. The investigation that followed was a harrowing ordeal, but it ultimately led to Kiran's arrest. The arrest of Kiran sent shockwaves through the family. Arjun was devastated, torn between his love for his wife and his loyalty to his father. But as the truth came to light, he realized that Elara was the victim, and he vowed to stand by her. The trial was a media circus, with the town of Newport buzzing with gossip and speculation. But Elara found strength in her husband's support and the knowledge that she had done the right thing. As the trial unfolded, more details came to light. It was revealed that Kiran had a history of abusive behavior, preying on vulnerable women and using his position of power to exploit them. The realization that Elara was not his only victim was both a relief and a chilling confirmation of his true nature. The legal proceedings were long and arduous, but ultimately, justice was served. Kiran was convicted and sentenced, and Elara found a sense of closure in the knowledge that he would no longer be able to harm others. But the scars of the experience remained, a constant reminder of the trauma she had endured. Elara sought therapy, finding solace in the safe space to process her trauma and heal. The journey of healing was not without its challenges. Elara and Arjun faced the emotional fallout of the trauma they had endured together. They sought therapy, both individually and as a couple, to navigate the complexities of their relationship and the scars left by the violation. As the trial progressed, Elara discovered she was pregnant. The news was both a blessing and a burden, a reminder of the life she had almost lost and the future she was determined to protect. She and Arjun decided to raise the child together, vowing to create a loving and safe environment for their son. The decision was not made lightly, but they both felt that the child was a symbol of hope and renewal. The pregnancy was a difficult time for Elara, as she grappled with the memories of the violation and the fear of what the future held. But with Arjun's support, she found the strength to face each day with courage and determination. The birth of their son marked a new chapter in Elara and Arjun's lives. They moved to a new town, leaving behind the shadows of the past and embracing the promise of a fresh start. Elara found solace in motherhood, finding strength in the love she had for her child and the bond she shared with Arjun. The experience of motherhood was both challenging and rewarding, and it gave her a renewed sense of purpose. The journey of healing continued as Elara and Arjun settled into their new life. They worked hard to rebuild their relationship, facing the challenges of parenthood and the emotional fallout of the trauma they had endured. Elara sought therapy, immersing herself in the process of understanding the intricacies of love, guilt, and longing. With each session, layers of pain peeled away, revealing a deeper insight into the decisions that had led her to this point. Arjun, too, sought his own path to healing, finding strength in his love for Elara and their son. He supported Elara in her journey, standing by her as she navigated the complexities of her emotions and the challenges of motherhood. The couple found that the key to their healing was open and honest communication. They learned to listen to each other, to share their fears and hopes, and to support each other through the difficult times. Slowly, as winter faded and spring bloomed, Elara discovered new ways to embrace motherhood, documenting moments of joy with her impending arrival despite the shadows that crept alongside her into the unknown. Elara's journey as a mother was a transformative experience. She found joy in the little things, like watching her son take his first steps, hearing his laughter, and feeling his tiny hand wrapped around her finger. The love she felt for her son was a powerful force, giving her the strength to face each day with renewed hope and determination. She cherished the moments spent with him, finding solace in the simple pleasures of motherhood. The experience of motherhood also brought challenges, as Elara grappled with the demands of caring for a newborn while dealing with the emotional fallout of the trauma she had endured. But with Arjun's support, she found the strength to navigate the challenges of motherhood, finding joy in the journey and the love she shared with her son. To those who find themselves in the shadows of abuse, know that you are not alone. Silence is not the answer, it is the enemy. Speak out, seek help, and find the courage to reclaim your life. You are worthy of love, respect, and dignity. Let your voice be the light that guides you out of the darkness. Remember, you are not defined by the violence inflicted upon you. You are a survivor, and your story is one of resilience and hope.